All right. Yo, yo, yo. What is good, everybody? It is your boy Lincoln Clay coming back at you. You know what to do. Hit the bell icon, the like button, whoop, 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 whoop. All that good stuff. If you're new to the channel, welcome aboard. Uh, yeah. Did I forget to tell y'all that I am the godfather of gaming, the ageless wonder, the L Daddy, the Lincoln Daddy, all that good stuff. How's everybody doing today? It is Saturday. What's the date here? July 6th. It's about 1:07 p.m. Eastern time. That tells you what kind of podcast this is going to be. So the title of this podcast is pretty simple because flat out, there's just not much to talk about gaming wise and VR wise. It's just not a lot of, hasn't been a lot of news this past week. So I don't know. I decided to go ahead and jump on in and talk about a few things that was on my mind. Impatient Fire, yes, you are first. What is up? So I'll start off by saying that I did finally order the Oculus Quest. It is scheduled to arrive July 19th, July 22nd at the latest. You know, usually when Amazon stuff gets here, stuff will reach you sooner than projected. But I think the dates that Amazon give you is usually the worst case scenario. So the Quest is scheduled to arrive July 19th, and I think it'll be here sooner than that. So in any case, when it gets here, my son and I are planning to do a live unboxing. Although I really don't have much juice for the Quest, I still want to take a look at it because it is in 1600p. Yo, 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 old guy in the house, as I always say. What's up, Robert McLeod? How you doing, man? But I definitely want to take a look at this Oculus Quest when it gets here because it's in 1600p, and I definitely want to see how clear the background is because that could that can still play a part in whether or not I decide to get an Oculus Rift S because DJ, what is up? No spoilers, but how was the film? It was great. It was a good movie. Man, I think the movie was like 2 hours and 41 minutes. I think I can tell you that, but it was definitely a good movie. I love comic book movies. So yes, I went to go see Spider-Man Far From Home yesterday in 3D. Once I go, you know something? Damn, you just triggered me, DJ. You know what? When you're so used to playing games in VR and you spin around, what's up, my brother from another mother fire? What's up? When you're so used to playing games in VR and you spin around and you just see everything, when you go to a theater, that 80-foot screen did not look that big to me. It didn't. And then, you know, seeing the movie in 3D, it almost looked like I was watching something through a big window. You know, like you could climb through that window and go into that world. But it didn't like, yeah, I'm so used to seeing shit in VR where, you know, you can do 360 degrees and just see everything. And you go from that to seeing a screen. The screen just didn't look that big to me, even though I believe that screen is 80 feet. But it still didn't look that big because I'm so used to VR. But nonetheless, it was a great movie. Yeah, DJ, same deal. Have you tried a 3D movie on one of the headsets? I watched Doctor Strange in 3D on the PSVR, and that was the first time I did that, and that was so cool. Like I just kicked up my feet. Matter of fact, it was It was watching Doctor Strange in 3D on the PlayStation VR headset that made me realize that whenever you're watching a movie on a VR headset and you try to get a drink, put a straw in there. Because if you try to drink it with that headset on, you're going to end up making a big mess. H Player, what's up? And Impatient Fire, you said you like watching 3D movies with the VR headset. Yeah, it's absolutely great. And I can't wait for Avengers Endgame to come to DVD, disc, whatever. Because I'm definitely going to watch that again in 3D. He said, and Dread 3D is good. I have to check it out. Arian Drake, what's up? What's going on, my man? So I think I was finishing up talking about the Oculus Quest that I did order that for my son. Like I said, it'll be here July 19th. I'm a little bit excited about it. He's extremely excited about it. Avengers Infinity War at 3D is also great. Yeah, definitely. Let's get that like train rolling, people. Hey, that's appreciated, DJ. But at the end of the day, everybody knows me. I feel like I'm approachable, especially on YouTube. I try to acknowledge everybody, and my channel hasn't gotten big enough yet that I can acknowledge everybody. For those huge YouTubers that I think are approachable, but they got like 500,000 subscribers, I would probably think that might be a little bit hectic. If you go live and you got like 2,000 people watching and you want to try to acknowledge everybody. Impatient Fire, you looking forward to the Oculus Quest unboxing? You interested in getting one? Yeah, I mean, I think it's gonna be cool. And there is I think there's I forgot what it's called, Battle X or something like that. Like now some games with the Oculus Quest will be cross play with the Oculus Rift, but some won't. But I guess there's a game called Battle X coming, which is a battle royale game, which will be cross play with the Oculus Quest and the Oculus Rift. So that's definitely a game that I'm going to get so I can play with my son. Yeah, I'm drawing a blank here talking about the Quest, but yeah, we'll definitely we're gonna do that when we do the unboxing. We're gonna do it live. I'm not gonna make a video and then upload it. We're gonna do it live, and so I'll have the chat set up and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, but I got my son the 64 gig Oculus Quest because a lot of these games, the files aren't that big. A lot of the games that's available on a Quest, I think a lot of them are like give or take about 1 gig. So with a 64 gig Oculus Quest, even if like 10 gigs is already used up, for the operating system, that still leaves you a lot of space to put a lot of games on there. And so I don't know what else is on my mind. Lately I've had a racing overdose. I've been, racing in VR, and when I'm not racing in VR, I've been watching racing content on YouTube. And so now that I've got my racing wheel finally working on Project Cars 2, a big void has been filled. I mean, now I feel like all my VR experiences are in order now. So it's like anything I feel like doing, I can do it that day in VR. If I feel like flying a jet, I can jump on Ace Combat 7. Yeah, I mean, you know what? Impatient Fire is not you know, you said I've been playing Project Cars 2 and GT Sport a lot. It's not that I didn't want to play them. It's that it was frustrating that I could not figure out how to, you know, calibrate my wheel on my PC. So it's like when I plug it into the PC recognized that it was there. But as soon as I pop in like Project Cars 2 or Assetto Corsa, the wheel wasn't working and I didn't know how to calibrate it. And it was just frustrating. So I just got away from it because I just cannot play those games using a controller. I can't do it. And so I've gone on YouTube and Google and shit like that to try to find answers. And then I think a few days ago, I went back to Google, you know, to search for an answer. And I said, I'm going to leave no stone unturned. I'm going to try every possible solution. And then there was one in a forum that caught my eye. And I was like, if this ends up being the solution, I'm going to shoot myself, you know. And it was like the article, somebody asked the same question. And one of the answers that he got back was on Project Cars 2, where you go to calibrate your wheel. At the bottom, the button that says reset, hit that, and then you can calibrate the wheel. And it worked. And I was like, you have got to be kidding me. After everything that I've tried, because I thought the problem was with my PC, not with the game. And then I had to stop and use common sense. I was like, if something's wrong, if the PC isn't recognizing the wheel, why does the wheel always spin from left to right and calibrate itself? Yeah, DJ, they definitely need more racing games on PlayStation VR because I think as far as multiplayer goes, the only game that I've played that was multiplayer was Drive Club. I don't know when it's supposed to come, but there is supposed to be like another arcade sim racing game called Drive. It's supposed to be coming to PC and PSVR. The developer did send me a key for like an alpha, and I tried it and did Wipeout, but I don't really consider that racing. Not pure racing. I mean, because Wipeout feels like some Total Recall shit. Yeah, I might finally get around to taking a look at Dirt Rally, but hey, Gamertag, what is going on, my man? How you doing? Saris is great. What's up? You know, over on Steam though, there's a ton of racing games. You know, some of them look cheap, some of them look high budget. But now that I've finally figured out this calibration thing with Project Cars 2, like I said, the void is complete. You know, if I feel like racing, I got a racing game. If I feel like flying, there's Ace Combat 7. If I feel like fighting, you've got Creed, and I've got a couple of other games. You know, if I feel like doing some underwater stuff, I still have Time Machine VR, which I've never streamed that game before. And I'm not going to lie. Like when I tried Time Machine VR, I think the PSVR was still a little bit in its infancy. So that game scared me. I'm not going to lie. You know, it's like when I saw some of those prehistoric creatures, one of them was called, I think it was like called a Plesiosaurus. Basically the thing looked like it looked like a crocodile with a shark's fin at the end of it. And that thing was so huge. That thing looked like it was about a good 60, 70 feet long. He says, when will we see Lincoln versus GT on Project Cars? Yeah, hey, right there. Gamertag just took the words right out of my mouth. Very soon, because now that I've got this wheel calibrated, I'm excited to get on the track with Gamertag, so we can get it in. Impatient Fire. I haven't gotten that far to see the Megalodon because when you go to scan one of those creatures, I think you only got like 20 seconds to scan it and get back into hiding. Otherwise, it'll eat you. But that thing was huge and it was scary. And since PlayStation VR was still in its infancy, I was still suffering from a little bit of motion sickness whenever I played that game. And you know what? And again, that thing scared me. So I deliberately, to make myself not be scared of it, I deliberately went and floated in the middle of the water and let it eat me like 3 or 4 times so I wouldn't be scared of it anymore. But that's definitely a game that I'll go back and check out. Cyber Dragon, what's up? It said it would be good if you could race for pink slips. You know what, DJ? Way back in the day on Project Cars 2, we used to do that. You can gift a car to somebody. You can give a car to somebody. So my Xbox friends that I used to race with, we used to race for pinks. And if you lose, you had to, whatever car you were using in that race, if you lost, you had to give that car to the winner, you know, because we were doing like one-on-one races. You know, 2 people get to talking trash at each other. I'll beat you, and then they go at it. And then whoever loses, the loser had to give up their car. And one of my friends that lives in California, he made his car, you know, look like a lowrider. He lost the race and had to give that car up, and he was sick. I mean, the shit bothered him for a couple of days. So the guy that beat him out, that won the car, finally gave it back to him because he saw that it was bothering him. Serious is great. Have you seen the trailer for Boundary for PSVR? You know that game got canceled. For PS4, PC, and VR for both. The VR version got canceled according to Polish Paul. I saw his video where he said it got canceled. Which, tell you the truth, the couple of clips that I saw of that game looked so good that I was like, there's no way they can get this game on the PlayStation VR because the hardware is just too limited. I was like, if they get this shit to run on, you know, PlayStation VR, the graphics is going to be so watered down, it's going to look like some, you know, PS1 shit. So I'm not terribly surprised that the VR version of that game got canceled. I mean, if the PS5 was already here, yeah, I mean, it definitely would be a go, unless they're gonna, I don't know, maybe the PR version, maybe the VR version will come back next generation. You know, speaking of games that like got canceled and now that it's back, you know, I talked about this a while ago that Alvo was one of the games that Alvo was the first person shooter game that I was looking forward to that was going to be coming to the PlayStation VR because it was also going to be cross-platform. And the game ended up getting canceled because of because the investors pulled out, and I guess they found more investors, so it's back on. So the game will be coming this year. Ice Queen Gaming, how are you? So I'm still looking forward to that. I guess this game, when it first came up, had been described as Counter-Strike in VR. And I saw the advertisement for Alvo before I saw anything. It was like the first-person shooter game that I think might have got advertised for the PlayStation VR. I think it even got advertised. I don't know. No, take that back. Firepoint. If you want to consider Firepoint the first-person shooter game, that was the first. But I'm talking like military first-person shooter game. I think I might have saw Alvo first. So yeah, that's what it was. Firepoint was the game that introduced the aim controller, and then when I was like military first-person shooter, I'm good, thanks, Lincoln. I am in Ireland right now at a concert. Oh, look like you've been on a concert binge lately because I saw your pictures on Twitter where it looked like you were at a concert. So hope you're having a good time. So again, with the Alvo situation, so yeah, I think Alvo was the first military game that I saw advertised for the PlayStation VR, and then the game is supposed to be cross-platform with Oculus and Vive, so it was definitely a game that I was looking forward to, and that is also a game that the developers were keeping in touch with PSVR Frank, so they can get a feel for what the community wanted, what they were willing to pay, what kind of weapons they wanted, what kind of mechanics they wanted, you know, whether they wanted, you know, 2 versus 2, 3 versus 3, that kind of stuff. So I'm definitely glad that game is back on the table. Yeah, it's my favorite boy band on tonight in Ireland. Cool. Have a good time. Have a good time. So, and I know I talked about that before. I know that there's a ton of VR games coming this year for the rest of the year. I've already mentioned that, kind of drawing a blank right now, so I can't remember all of them. But I think there's about 6 or 7 games still to come this year that I'm still looking forward to. That I absolutely can't wait to get my hands on these games. So I think, all in all, I think 2019 still stands to be the best year ever for VR. Oh, excuse me, still burping. Get a drink of water here. So again, I don't have a ton of topics to talk about. I guess I'll go through like N4G and Upload VR and see what kind of um, articles are there. I took a quick look at them, but there wasn't much to talk about. So, if you guys got something on your mind you want to talk about, gaming related, VR related, shoot, you know. So I think the only thing as far as regular like flat screen gaming goes, the PlayStation Plus situation was big news where I guess they snatched Pro Evolution Soccer and replaced it with Detroit Become Human, which I think is a better deal because Pro Evolution Soccer was only going to be good for this year because next year the game is going to be outdated. But you can play Detroit Become Human whenever you feel like it. So I think that was the better deal. I think Detroit Become Human definitely should have been nominated for Game of the Year. At the time that I played it, I felt like it was my Game of the Year. J Dog, you said Hope Wolfenstein Cyberpilot from Bethesda will be good. I don't know. I am curious about it though. Now as much as J Dog, let me go back to DJ. He said we've been blessed with so many good games. Absolutely. And the best thing about these VR games, DJ, a lot of them don't cost a lot, and I think that's why I've said that before that the attach rate for VR owners is much higher than flat screen games because for the price of a $60 AAA title, we can VR owners, we can still get 3 or 4 quality titles for the price of that $60 game. A good VR title rate is usually around $20. There's some decent, $15 titles. But there's still like a ton of $5 titles and all that kind of stuff. So for the price of one $60 game, you can still get 3 or 4 quality VR games. With that being said, because of that, VR owners have a much higher attach rate. So I dare, if I was to put a number on it, I dare say that for flat screen game owners, like PS4 and Xbox owners, for every one game they have, a VR owner probably has 4 to 6 games. So I think our attach rate is probably much better than theirs. 4 to 1, 5 to 1, 6 to 1. So, but to come back to about this Bethesda thing, J Dog, I think Bethesda is a sneaky ass company. But on the flip side of that, they have, even though they redid some of those games, they have brought AAA titles to VR. When they, Skyrim, Fallout 4, I think Doom. So they brought some AAA titles to VR, and I think next generation, I don't know what they might do next generation. I don't know if they're going to build games from the ground up for VR, or I don't know if they're going to build games that that are AAA titles that are both flat screen with a VR mode. But I would be led to believe that they're probably going to keep doing what they're doing because I I think the reason why they're going to keep doing that is because they can make a game for $60 and charge everybody $60 for that game, and then a year or two later bring that game back in VR and then hit them again for $60, because that's exactly what they did with Skyrim VR. So, yeah, DJ, definitely Sony, I think, has been treating us good. In talking about Sony treating us good, I could talk about that a little bit. Hold on a second, folks. Hey, why, you feel all right? Okay. Okay, I'm back, folks. What I was going to say was, speaking of Sony, the one thing that was news this week that I really don't understand why it was news was Kenichiro Yoshida saying that the PS5 was for hardcore gamers, and it just went across YouTube like wildfire, and it's something that I don't understand, because I don't understand why people acted like Sony was taking a bold chance. Oh, Sony's taking a chance, it's for the hardcore. I don't get why people reacted the way they did across YouTube, because catering to the hardcore is why Sony blew Xbox out of the water this generation. They have been catering to the hardcore, this whole generation. And I've said it before, using that cliche that if you build it, they will come. That's exactly what happened. Once all the hardcore people got their hands on it, and the price of the PlayStation 4 started coming down where it looked attractive to casual gamers, I said it before that I'm willing to bet that a lot of casual JD Max, what's up? And Jamal Adams, what's going on? How you doing? I've said it before that once the PS4 became attractive to casual gamers, I'm willing to believe that when the casual gamer decided it was time to buy a console, they probably consulted with somebody they knew that was a hardcore gamer and asked them for their opinion. Should I get an Xbox? Should I get a PlayStation? And in all likelihood, they were probably told you should get a PlayStation. And so Sony has made hardcore games this generation. Need I say it for the millionth time? Games like God of War, the Uncharted's, Spider-Man, Days Gone, all these compelling exclusives are grown-up hardcore games with great graphics and great stories. And the games that Sony has put out this generation, the blockbuster hits that they put out, the Spider-Mans, the God of Wars, those type of games, I would have bought those games even if they would have been in 1080p, because they were still great looking games with great stories. So for people to act like Sony was saying that the PS5 is for the hardcore, acting like they were shocked about it, is I just don't get why they were acting like that. And I mean, I had already said it like a long time ago. I had already said that next generation, the score is going to be 80 million Sony, 30 million Xbox. And I said that based on customer loyalty. That was my exact words that I said, in some of my podcasts. I said, based on customer loyalty, the score is going to be Sony 80 million, Xbox, 40 million or whatever. I think it's going to be worse than that, because Microsoft is taking every reason for you to buy an Xbox out of your hands. I still don't think Anaconda makes any sense. I said that from the get-go when Microsoft made it clear that they were going to be, become a third party, basically a third party game publisher. whatever game developer, and then they went off and got all these AA studios, which I said that I said it a million times. They went off and got bootleg developers to make bootleg games, and they got all these AA developers. They caught them when they were vulnerable. They caught all these studios when they were in a situation where they were probably about to go bankrupt, or they hadn't had a hit game in God knows how long. So, Microsoft caught them when they were vulnerable. DJ, I see that. I see where you said I would love to see Grand Theft Auto in VR. DJ, I was talking about this a couple of days ago. I know I'm jumping all over the place with these subjects, but it's really not much to talk about, in terms of news that's going on this past week. There's really not a lot to talk about. So I'm going to be bouncing all over the place based on a lot of stuff that you guys say in the chat, which is great, actually. But DJ, talking about the situation with GTA and VR, that is no longer a stretch. That is within the realm of possibility now, because I was saying that if Microsoft brings VR to Scarlet, that could be enough to maybe tempt Rockstar, all the big AAA publishers. The market has to be big enough for them to want to take a chance on VR. I think, like, for instance, like the Star Wars, when they did the X-Wing experience in VR, that was actually great, even though I cannot stand EA. That was actually a great experience. I liked it. But I think that was a situation where it was a PlayStation exclusive. So either Sony paid them to do it, or cut them a big break on royalties and percentages or something like that. And then they never came back to VR. There was a rumor coming around. There was a rumor out that Battlefront 2 was going to have a VR mode, but it never happened. Now that Microsoft could possibly get on board with VR, now the market might be big enough that they might be willing to do it on their own instead of somebody, going out of their way to strike a deal with them. And even though it's a horror game, I think Resident Evil, hats off to Sony for the Resident Evil thing, because they went out of their way to bring us a AAA game fully playable in VR as well as flat screen. And I'm hoping to see more experiences like that next generation, like the Resident Evils, not from a horror standpoint, because horror games scare the shit out of me. I'm not going to lie. Horror games is where VR is a little too real, but I'm talking about in terms of a AAA game that's fully playable in flat screen or VR. I'm hoping to see that more of that next generation. I do think Sony might bring us that with some of their exclusives, especially like with a rumor that came out a while ago that Sony might be a company might be working on doing Horizon Zero Dawn in VR. That was according to GameCross. That was his speculation. But I thought it was very well possible that Sony could do something like Killzone in VR, or bring Navy SEAL SOCOM back, bring that back in VR. You said, I'm the same. Resident is on a whole other level. It's scary. You ain't joking about that. Robert McLeod, you said big enough for Sony, not big enough for Microsoft. Ice Queen Gaming, you said I don't play horror games, but my late husband played horror games. Well, I'm at a loss for words, Ice Queen Gaming, because if I don't know if he had a chance to experience VR, because I don't know how long your husband's been gone. But if he didn't experience VR, um, if he would have tried Resident Evil 7, in VR, it would either scare the crap out of him or or he would have loved it. And DJ, you say you hope we get Fallout 4 VR on PS5. I mean, it's on Steam right now. On the G2A website, I've seen it be as cheap as $5. Not only that, I saw a video a couple of days ago where a YouTuber was playing Fallout 4 remotely on his Oculus Quest. And I thought that was pretty cool. And he did acknowledge that the graphics are a little bit watered down playing it through the Quest, but it still actually looked pretty good. So sooner or later, I'm going to go ahead and get Fallout 4, but I'm not going to get it until I can catch it for $10 or less, because I know Fallout 4 is a huge game, and it's a game that I would probably never finish, but I'd still like to have it in my library anyway. DJ, do you have an Oculus or HTC Vive, PC VR in any way, shape, or form? Yeah, JD Max, those Steam sales, even when stuff isn't on sale, there's still a ton of stuff there that's dirt cheap. And I mean, like, it's more VR content than I can count. Every time I go to the you've only got PSVR, okay. I'd like to suggest to you that to broaden your horizons. If you were willing to spend the money, I would definitely recommend, PC VR. I would definitely recommend getting a PC and getting an Oculus Rift or something. Spartan God, stop it, man. Stop it. You said except Astrobot. I tried to play Astrobot about 3 weeks ago. I'm still stuck on the same part, and that's why you guys haven't seen me doing Astrobot streaming God knows how long, is because I'm still stuck on the same spot. Eventually I'll get past that spot, and when I'll do, I'll get back to streaming Astrobot again. So Robert McLeod, you said Fallout 4 is great on PC and nowhere else because everywhere else is bugs and glitches. So yeah, I mean, I've never played any of the Fallout games, even though I had a couple of them. But when I finally do get around to playing it, VR is the only way I'm going to play it. You know what? Also, let me go to Upload VR for a quick second and see if there's anything new there. So I think I'm looking at Upload VR, and really the only article that really stands out to me is this article saying that Blood and Truth developers, Sony London is hiring for the next PSVR game. So hey, after what they did with Blood and Truth, and I'm willing to bet that whatever they do is going to be a great game. Here's another article saying 6 developers Sony could buy to secure PSVR 2's future, which I've talked about that before, which I thought that Sony should get their hands on Ready at Dawn. I don't think Sony's touched them since the Order 1886, but Ready at Dawn is the developers of Lone Echo, and they are also developing Lone Echo 2. So they definitely, I think Sony definitely needs to get them back on the team. So, and looking at this, it says Impulse Gear. This is who. This is the developer of Farpoint. He's also mentioned in First Contact Entertainment, which we know made Firewall. Camouflage. That's the developer who's making the upcoming Iron Man VR. Secret Location. Let's see what they made. They made games like Transpose and Blasters of the Universe. Survios, which we know about Survios. They've made Raw Data, Creed, and they're making the upcoming Walking Dead in VR. Insomniac Games, which I know I think they dabbled in. Not only is Insomniac making bleeding edge VR games for Oculus like Stormland, and so yeah, they dabbled in VR before. So I don't know how Ready at Dawn isn't on that list. Jay Swoles, what is up? You say Fallout 4 is great. Yeah, I'm getting around to checking it out, definitely. But like I said, VR is the only way I'm going to play it. It's just. You said Creators Club DLC makes Fallout 4 on PC all worth it. I don't have my phone with me. Otherwise, I go to Steam right now. I can still do it from the PC. Go to Steam and see how much it costs. Go to Steam. See Fallout 4. Damn, this shit's still $30. Mention Ready at Dawn when people started talking about who Sony should buy. See right there, if Jay Swoles, if they were to pick up Ready at if they were to pick up Ready at Dawn, that's a double. That's a what's the word I want to use? That's the 1-2 punch right there, because they did the Order 1886, and again they did Lone Echo for the Oculus for Oculus Studios, and they are doing the upcoming Lone Echo 2, which is highly anticipated. If Sony were to get their hands on Ready at Dawn, you would have a studio that would be working full time, because they can make both flat screen games and VR games. I think with Sony's resources, and if Sony would back them, I think Ready at Dawn could be the Naughty Dog of VR games. Because without question, Lone Echo is still the best looking game that I've seen in VR. It's like every time I still dabble around with Lone Echo, and every time I put that headset and look around inside that space station and stuff like that, I can't help but be amazed by it. Says DJ, you say, with the next generation, do you think we will see more educational stuff? Really hope they push that. Would love to see a World War or even a dinosaur experience in a headset. Yeah. I forgot the name of that little cheap ass game that I bought on PC on Steam. I think I paid like $3 for it. It was like a Jurassic Park experience. Where I was in the back of a pickup truck, and like all these like pterodactyls, Tyrannosaurus Rexes, and I forgot the name of those other damn dinosaurs that's like really quick. But that was on there, and that was pretty cool experience. That T-Rex, when it like got super close to the truck that I was riding in, man, that thing was big. So I think other than that, on Upload VR, I don't think there's any any other news worth talking about. There's this game called Rogan, A Thief in a Castle review. Now it says gorgeous VR sneaking that's simply too simple. Now Gamertag streamed this game a couple of days ago. Oh, I'm thinking of a Raptor, Impatient Fire. You know, when those was coming at you, like those on that game that I was mentioning, those Raptors was pesky as fuck. Yeah, Until Dawn would definitely be nice under Sony J Swolls because they can do both flat screen and VR games. But about this Rogan, again, Gamertag VR streamed that game a couple of days ago, and it actually looked good. Looked like it had good graphics. I saw a part where he snuck up on someone and hit him in the back of the head with like a vase or something, which was pretty funny. So I'm a little bit curious about that game. But I don't know. We still haven't gotten any. I don't think we've gotten any news lately on any kind of games that the games that I've mentioned that I'm looking forward to that's still supposed to be coming out this year. I think Aspire 1 might have a date on it, but I'm not sure. But I know coming up here in about a week and a half at the San Diego Comic-Con, they're supposed to reveal more content about Iron Man VR, and hopefully we'll get a date then. Robert McLeod, Until Dawn on VR. Oh crap, that'd be scary. Until Dawn, there is a VR version of Until Dawn. I think. Yeah, I believe so. Basically, you're riding it like almost like a roller coaster cart, going through a bunch of shit where all kinds of like zombies and creatures and shit like that are coming at you. Yeah, there, that it is, DJ. Until Dawn, Rush of Blood. Yeah. Trying to see what my son's getting ready to play. Man, he lives on that PC now. I mean, he pretty much plays Pavlov. Plays, I think he like plays Pavlov like 60% of the time. Plays Five Nights at Freddy's maybe 30% of the time, and the other 10%, you know, might pull out his Xbox One X whenever he wants to connect with his friends. You ready to play Pavlov again? Mm-hmm. Figured that. So, as far as what I've got planned today, stream wise, at some point, I think I'm going to try to play Space Junkies with my son. We did this a couple of days ago where he was on Oculus and I was on the PlayStation VR, and we were standing right next to each other. And because this game was crossplay, we were able to play together. Now, I couldn't find him by way of friends list or anything like that, or search for a particular player. It was just one of those things where I went into a session. It was random. He was in there. So if I try to stream that, it's going to be a situation where I need to get into a room with him first, and then I'll switch it on and stream it. So and I'll probably have the webcam turned on, so you'll probably see us standing next to each other and playing it. But because he'll be wearing the Oculus headset, you'll pretty much hear him talking. Yeah, DJ, Space Junkies is an amazing game. I just think that Ubisoft caused themselves an unnecessary problem by making that game $40. I mean, I think if they would have made that game 15 or $20 right from the start, the user base on that game would have been huge because VR games, when a good VR game comes out, it doesn't take long for the news to spread. And it didn't take long for the news to get, for the word to get out that Space Junkies was a good game. But I think that $40 price tag, made people reluctant to come near it. Me being one of them. But as soon as they made it $15 when it was on sale, I jumped on it and bought it for both PC and PlayStation VR. Oh, Jay Swolls, you said Impatient. The Impatient is made by Ready at Dawn, or are you talking about the Until Dawn developers? Yeah, I have that game too, but again, it was another game I was scared to try. It didn't come out with move support, which was a mistake. I think it was a mistake, yeah, DJ. But you know what? I ended up getting used to using it on the DualShock 4. The only problem I really saw with using the DualShock 4 for Space Junkies was that when you pulled out the shield and then you pulled out that energy sword, you had to move the shield out of the way before you could swing the sword first. But yeah, they finally got their act together and put move support on the game, and they need to just go ahead and leave that game at a permanent $15 or $20. I think people who paid $40 for Space Junkies, the initial reaction is that some of them might get mad when the game was on sale for $15, because they could have saved $25 had they waited, whatever the case may be. But I think people who paid $40 for the game won't be that upset, because by the time the game went on sale for $15, the word was already out that Ubisoft put the game on sale to try to get some people to fill up the game for the people who paid the $40 for it, so they would have people to play for it. DJ, you said when No Man's Sky drops, goodbye real world life. And Impatient Fire, he said, I can't wait for No Man's Sky VR update. It's my most anticipated game related event of the year. Again, that's another game that's cross play, and I have bought it on both PC and I did buy the physical disc for the PlayStation, because I think when I went to the PlayStation store to see about buying it, I think the game was still $30 or $40 at the PlayStation store. Already knew, as soon as the VR update was announced for No Man's Sky, already knew the price was going to go back up. So I tried to get the game while it was still cheap. Now, as far as Steam goes, now I did try to go to G2A to try to get the game super cheap, but I couldn't find it. It wasn't there. So I ended up breaking down and buying it on Steam for $30. But the physical copy that I got for the PS4, I ordered a used copy through Target for like $14. So another game that I've never played it before, and I know people keep telling me that I should go ahead and play it and get started on it so I can get acclimated with the controls, so I'm familiar with what's going on. But that's really, really tough, because I'm just so entrenched in VR. And now that I said it before, now that I've got that racing wheel together on Project Cars 2, you're going to see me doing more Project Cars 2 streams. Now, I will say that I will probably be doing more streams where I'm racing against the computer, because the online part of it is there, but it's really hard to find races that suit me. So I'll probably be doing a good amount of streams against the computer. Say, hit you up if you ever want to race, without question. Have I played Serie until yet? No, I have not. That's one of those things where I'm being extra cheap. The game goes for $30. I think I saw it on G2A for $20, and I think last week the game was on sale for $15. But one of the things that steered me away from the game is that I heard that it was extremely buggy. especially with the slow motion shit. I'm still curious about it. I'm just trying to get the game for as cheap as possible. Robert McLeod, Ron, yawn, racing to me, no interest. I don't know if you're a car fanatic or not, Robert McLeod, but I think most people who love racing are car fanatics. I think it probably starts out for a love of cars and it expands to racing. Because I've loved racing ever since I was a kid. Because I think like when I was about 5 years old, I felt like I was going to be a race car driver when I grew up. I wanted to be a race car driver. When I was a kid watching races, NASCAR races, the Allison brothers, the King, Richard Petty, I watched some of those races. And then as far as like IndyCar racing, Mario Andretti is my favorite racer of all time. And I think he won the 1969 Indianapolis 500, and that's the only one that he's ever won. But there was several Indianapolis 500 races that he was in the lead and looked like he was going to win, but his car broke down because he had a lot of mechanical problems throughout his career. Him and his son, Michael Andretti, were both great racers. They were leading a lot of races, but their cars broke down. So there you go, Impatient Fire. I love cars and racing too. So if you love cars and you love racing, if you're that deep into it, I think it's only a matter. I think, how could you not want to race in VR? Is there a Superbike VR game? That would be insane. I do have a motorcycle racing game that's supposed to be both flat screen and VR, but I couldn't get the VR part of it to work. I have it on the PlayStation. I forgot what the game is called, but it's a really cheap looking game. But like the real game, MotoGP, I would love to see that. And I would love to have that in VR, and be Valentino Rossi, the dude is still racing, I think like 20 years later. I used to love those races too because I had a crotch rocket. I used to have a GSXR 750. Boy, did I love that bike. I was beating CBR 900s on that bike. I opened that bike up and I got it up to about 177. And the bike was still climbing. But by the time it got that high, I was already going that fast for like 5 miles. And I was like, okay, I better slow down before I fuck around and get pulled over. But I love crotch rockets too. I used to watch the AMA races, because I think at that time, watching the AMA races, Matt Mladen was my favorite racer. I forgot who was, Aaron Goebel, Jamie. I forgot his name. I think Aaron Goebel also had a brother that raced. You had the Bostrom brothers, Eric Bostrom, who raced for Ducati, and his brother Ben Bostrom. No, that was Ben Bostrom who raced for Ducati, and it was Eric Bostrom who raced for Kawasaki. He said the crew had VR support, right? I don't know. I don't know. That's the thing. Jay Swoles is like, it's so many games out there for VR, but people saying like what game they'd like to see come to VR is just endless. It's like so many games that so many people would like to come to see come to VR is endless. So I mean, like, it's just exciting to see what next generation holds. He said you love the X game because those dudes are nuts. X Games, Robert McLeod, it's those BMX bikes. The tricks they do on those BMX bikes is amazing. Impatient Fire. I see you said you wanted to be a fighter pilot and an astronaut when you were a kid. Hey, and VR brought you to the closest thing to that happening. I think on at the Oculus store, there was a space station experience that I played. I should have streamed it. Maybe I will. But I think the reason why I didn't stream it because I played this at around the time that I was streaming Lone Echo. But this space station experience, somebody over the radio is telling you that something's wrong with the space station, something outside the space station is not, functioning correctly, and you got to go out there and fix it. So I think you got to go out there, remove the panel so you can start working on it, and then something happened. I think there was some kind of small explosion that blew you off of the space station, and now you floating in space out of control. That shit was actually a little bit scary because all I could think about was like, what if this was real life? You get blown off the space station and that tether breaks. That's it. All your oxygen is gone. And if your thrusters are gone, you got no way of trying to work your way back. Bismarck, what's going on? JD Max, you said the Goodwood Festival of Speed is on right now. I was dibbling back and forth on that. I was checking it out a little bit. But what I ended up watching, I was watching highlights of the 24 Hours of Le Mans that just completed a couple of weeks ago. And then when that video was over, like last year's 24 Hours of Le Mans, that played next. And I said, hell with it. I'll go ahead and watch it because I'm fascinated with 24 Hours of Le Mans. I'm fascinated with those cars, the history of it. I think out of all the races that I would love to see, I would love to see 24 Hours of Le Mans more than any race out there. And over in Europe, they've got the kind of races that I want to see with the exotic cars. Over in Europe, you've got races that's got those like the 24 Hours of Le Mans. In addition to those Le Mans cars, you have the Group 2 cars where you have Ferraris. You've got Ferraris, Corvettes, Porsches, all those exotic cars, and they race cars. You say, what would be dope was the Alien Isolation VR. I've never played Alien Isolation. But I'm at that point where I might be damn near, if it looks like it's a quality game, I'm willing to try damn near anything in VR. I don't like cheap looking shit because it kind of breaks the immersion. You'd love to see an Alien game on VR? You say, remember VR in the 80s and 90s? That was a trip. I never experienced it, Robert McLeod, even though I should have, because it's been torn down now. But we had a movie theater here in Grand Rapids called Studio 28. At one point or another, Studio 28 was the biggest movie theater in America. At the time that they were the biggest movie theater in America, I think they had like 30 screens or some shit like that. It's torn down now. It's nothing but a patch of dirt there where Studio 28 used to be. But that's where you had to go if you wanted to experience VR back in the 80s and the 90s. Because VR wasn't in the homes then, if I remember. You had to go to some kind of arcade or you had to go somewhere to experience it. So, and it was rather expensive too. So I never experienced VR in the 80s or the 90s. Matter of fact, I think the PlayStation VR was my first dose of VR before when the PlayStation VR, when they were setting up demos at Best Buy and setting them up at GameStop. That's how I was experiencing VR. I was going I was taking my son there every Saturday, and we would try the PlayStation VR. As a matter of fact, that's how I got into VR, because my son asked me, he said, "Will you get me a PlayStation VR?" And I said, "Oh, we'll talk about it." But I knew right then and there I was going to get it for him, and I got it for him for Christmas. You guys heard me tell that story before. He played it the first, couple of weeks, whatever. Then he stopped playing it, and it just sat around for months. And I decided to go ahead and start playing it so it wouldn't be a waste of money, a waste of $500. I damn near sold it because of the motion sickness, and I wasn't seeing the kind of content that I wanted to see, but I stuck it out. Now here I am. Here I am. Far as the crumb side goes, I have to be the biggest advocate of VR that's out there. I mean, anybody who promotes VR harder than me probably is a big YouTuber that's got thousands of subscribers. Impatient Fire, you said Detach is a cool spacewalking game for PlayStation VR. It's crazy and not for the initiated due to motion sickness. Yeah, I mean, I think at the time that Detached came out, it was a game that I was curious about. But yes, I was concerned about motion sickness, because I think when these space games first came out, because you're floating in space, motion sickness was a big concern. He said there is a PC VR support for Alien Isolation. All right. Robert McLeod, you said how far VR has come from the 80s and 90s is amazing. It is. And what I've got right now will get me through until the next generation. There's still a lot of experiences coming this year, but I think once the PlayStation VR, not the PlayStation VR, once the PS5, and if Microsoft decides to get on board with VR, Xbox Scarlet hits, I'm telling you, I think developers are going to come out of the woodworks putting out at least one VR game just so they can dip their toes in that water. Said you got to enter the chat with a "what the fuck" comment. What's up, JP Loco? How you doing, man? Yeah, but definitely, because when the PS5 and the Scarlet comes out with the rumored power that these things are supposed to have, I don't think developers are going to have to compromise whenever they develop a game. I think they can develop a game however they want to do it and then just throw it out on all three platforms at once. I don't think it's going to be a situation where they release it on PC first and then they got to water it down and, spend 6 months, watering the shit down for PlayStation VR. I think it's going to be a situation where all three platforms are going to be powerful enough that they can make the game and just put it out there at once. So with that being said, that's the biggest reason why I'm really looking forward to the next generation. Can't stay for long. All right, JP Loco, I appreciate you popping in, though. No question about that. Jay Swoles, you're the only person I've talked VR and don't own a VR. Man, what? What? Jay Swoles, what? Man, come on, man. You know what? It's hard for me to say this, but I want to say it anyway. If you're a hardcore gamer and want all experiences, to me, at the very least, there ain't no reason why you shouldn't own a PlayStation VR if you're at least a slight bit interested in VR. Because PC VR is still really expensive, because actually you don't need a super expensive PC these days to push VR. But I think, like the cutoff, I think is probably going to be like a PC that probably costs like $600 or $700, bottom of the line shit. That would work for you, but you're still looking at another, $400 for a headset. Like the Oculus Rift S. Because out of the headsets that's coming out this year, the Oculus Rift S is the cheapest. So you're still looking at $1,000. But if you already have a PlayStation, you already halfway home. All you got to do is catch the PlayStation VR when it's on sale. Most of the time, when it goes on sale, the one with the Move controller bundles usually sells for $250. I mean, if you already have a PlayStation, to me, you should already be there. You should already be in there, Swoles. JP Loco, VR is the future. More than this bullshit game streaming will ever be, without a doubt. But I think, make no mistake about it, I think as VR continues to grow, if Stadia survives, do you need dedicated space? I think with the PlayStation VR, truth be told, like PlayStation VR is made for you to stand still. It's not made for you to move around. So with that being said, I think a 6x6 space is good enough. And I don't even use that kind of space. Now, my living room is extremely small. I think as far as space goes, how much space I got to work with, I think I probably got like maybe a 8x6. I think that's about how much space I got to work with. Because of the Guardian the Oculus has, that's not going to be an issue, because if I move too close to anything, that blue grid, like that blue gate, is going to come up inside your headset, letting you know you're getting too close, to your boundaries. So no, you don't need a lot of space. It's the Vive where you need a lot of space because of those light bases. And DJ just said it right there. Most games you can sit down to play, so you don't need loads of space. Again, with the PlayStation VR, most of the games you standing still. Their games are not required for you to move around. So I even dare say, with a PlayStation VR, you can play in a 4x4 space, because the game is meant for you to stand still. So you can enjoy the great games like Firewall, Everybody's Golf, Farpoint, all those kind of games, and don't have to move. In a game like Firewall, it's more immersive if you stand up, but you could sit down if you wanted to, because it doesn't require you to move around. So if you wanted to, you could sit down and play it. So I'm trying to make my pitch to you, Jay Swoles, to jump up and get one of those PlayStation VRs the next time they go on sale. JP Local, you said my game room ain't very big, but you don't need much space. And you're giving Jay Swoles out a shout. Also, hey, Jay Swoles. Now, like, my apartment is really small, but I'm hoping if I don't buy a house in the next couple of years, I definitely want to move into a 2-bedroom apartment, a bigger apartment or duplex. And I want to use that second room and dedicate it strictly to VR. I want to put a green screen and everything in there. He said, remember when Phil Spencer said he was going to make Xbox games 3D? Whatever happened to that? If you're talking about the high fidelity VR that he was talking about back in 2017, when they first unveiled the Xbox One X E3 2017, if I remember correctly, and they promised high fidelity VR. I still think they didn't do it because of the slow start that the PlayStation VR had. I said it before and I said it again. Microsoft are some copycats. Microsoft likes to piggyback Microsoft doesn't do anything original. They look at everybody else to see what is successful for them, and then they come in with their own knockoff version of the shit. Microsoft put the Kinect out there because of the success of the Wii. Hell, I even dare say the Sony copied them with the 6-axis controllers, trying to make the game, interactive. Microsoft put the Mii's out there, not the Mii's, the avatars out there because of the success of the Mii's that was in the Nintendo ecosystem. And now Microsoft is, they basically lying to people again, but they act like they're going to get back to bringing people single player compelling exclusives, but they only saying that shit because of the success of the Sony exclusives and the uproar from the Xbox community. They ain't doing shit, on their own decision. Everything they do is because, they see somebody else having success with it and they're trying to copy it. Jay Swoles, you said I'll eventually get one because it interests me. Well, what kind of games do you like, Jay Swole? Like flat screen games right now. Well, what do you like to play? You like first person shooters, racing games, role playing games, single player experiences? What kind of games do you like to play? Because I'm willing to bet you, no matter what your genre is in terms of what kind of games you like to play, I'm willing to bet you there's at least one VR game out there that you will like it so much that you may seriously consider not playing flat screen games that much, that you'll invest more and more time in the VR. DJ, you said it wasn't Batman Arkham City a 3D game. Never thought of trying a game like that in the headset. When you guys say 3D, I don't know if you guys mean 3D from a 3D TV or 3D from VR. Because I did try to, the Batman VR was another game that launched on the PlayStation VR when it came out, which that game, teleportation was the method of travel, but the game was still good enough and the story was still good enough that I was like, they got to give us a sequel. JP Local, you said you can get a PSVR bundle with Moss, Firewall, Astrobot, the 350 over here down under. Yeah, that's a good deal. Because it, yeah, that is a good deal. So Jay Swoles, you like first person shooters? Well, over on the PlayStation VR, naturally, I would recommend Firewall to you. If you want a good story, I would recommend Farpoint. Farpoint does have, an online player, but it's like it's 1v1. It's not like 4 versus 4 like on like Firewall. But the 1v1 is still pretty cool because what you do is you use your gun to kind of like scan out aliens and shit like that, and you send them at your enemy to flush him out of hiding, and then you take the shot at him as soon as he comes out of hiding. So the 1v1 for Farpoint is actually pretty cool. But first person shooter games, without question, I would have to recommend Firewall. But to me, it would be pointless to play Firewall if you do not have the aim controller. When Firewall first came out with the aim controller, the game was praised so good that even PC dudes was buying PlayStation VRs just so they can play Firewall. You do have a lot of good first person shooters over. It said, Spartan guy, would you tell J-Tech I still can't comment in this chat without my comments disappearing? We cool already, but I still can't comment. Yeah, I'll pass that on to him. So I think right now I'm planning on coming back to the Legion tomorrow. You guys knew my situation while I was out for a minute, but I plan on coming back to the Legion tomorrow. DJ, you said it's always cheaper to buy the aim controller and the game separate than buying a bundle. You said he's live right now? Okay. You know what? Spartan God, just a second. I was going to say that I'll hit him up and tell him on Twitter, because I don't know what. Let me see what he's doing on. Oh, he's. Just a second. Whoops. I don't want to do that. Okay. Well, being that I'm in the middle of this podcast right now, Spartan God, because I'm going to wrap this podcast up here in a few minutes. After I wrap this podcast up, I'll hit him up on Twitter and let him know. Because we actually chat a lot through Twitter. So it's like we answer each other every time. He sends me a pic, I respond to it, all that kind of stuff. So I'll hit him up on Twitter just so I know that it's got his attention. JP Local, you bought the PSVR day one for $500, and I admit I was a bit disappointed at first, mainly due to the lack of games that was there at first. Exactly, JP Local. $500 was a lot to spend, but I got it for my son, so that I eventually got over that. But yes, the content that was like the first thing that hit my head when I got that PlayStation VR for my son is that I want to see what first-person shooter games are like in VR, because it wasn't there yet for the PlayStation VR. The first-person shooter games weren't there yet. And then they had the PlayStation the PlayStation demo disc. One of the demos that was on there was the Drive Club demo in VR. And I absolutely loved it, but it made me motion sick because it was the first time I had experienced a racing game in VR. And I was like, it was really fucking me up, especially when I was going up and down hills, because even though I'm sitting on the couch and I'm going up and down that hill, my mind is telling me I was going up and down that hill at 200 miles an hour, and it was fucking with me. It was making me motion sick. And I was like, I don't, and I was thinking to myself that, damn, it was an amazing experience, but I don't know if the motion sickness is worth all this shit. Oh, hi there. But, that was the PlayStation VR in its infancy. So it wasn't just that game that was making me motion sick. Riggs made me sick. That shit still makes me feel funny to this very day. So I haven't touched it in God knows how long. The teleportation method of travel on Resident Evil and the Batman VR was fucking with me. Teleportation altogether was fucking with me. So as the saying goes, I had to get my VR legs under me. So for the most part, I think other than I don't know. I could probably go back to Riggs and try it. You said Sony should have never closed Gorilla Cambridge. Oof, well, you would be right for the most part, Spartan God. But hey, Sony knows when it comes to these studios, Sony knows what they're doing way more than Microsoft does. See, here's 230. Now Guerrilla Games has two teams. All right. So yeah, I'll be ready to wrap this up here in a few minutes. I never got motion sickness. I'm physically unable to puke. So yay me. I mean, I never got to the point where I was going to puke, but I'm not going to lie. the motion sickness was fucking me up so bad that I would literally have to take the headset off and then go to bed. I would have to go in my room and lay down for about an hour before I could come back and try it again. Thanks a lot, DJ. You really enjoyed the stream? Well, yeah, that was crazy. And then I'm not crazy about heights either, JP Loco. So when the Batman VR was when I first played that, when you first start out standing on the ledge of that building and looking over Gotham City, that shit was fucking with me too, because I'm not crazy, because I'm not a person that would be able to stand on a building that's like 500 feet tall and look over the edge and shit. Oh, Robert McLeod, I see your comment, but I'm not going to read that. I'm laughing at it, but I'm not going to read it. And then Patient Fire, you said, I'm immune to VR motion sickness, thankfully. I never got sick in VR. Spartan guy, you said a guy, an Xbox dude on Twitter is thinking about killing himself. Low key word, yes, 3 daughters. What in the fuck? You know what, DJ? You said I don't like heights, but I really want to try walk the plank. You know the Richie's plank experience, whatever that is. I saw a video where people were getting hurt from that. One video I saw, I guess a guy got stitches right up the middle of his head, and the stitches were so long, you thought that somebody tried to, put an axe right down the middle of his head. That's how long the stitches were, because I guess that Richie's playing experience really like disorients people, really like fucks up their equilibrium. And even when they're not using the plank, it still screws them up. You said you and Porter Rock said something to him, but got no reply. Boy, I never like to hear that, because suicide is something serious. He said Phil Spencer is a steak oil salesman, Robert McLeod. You ain't joking about that. Yeah, DJ, you said I've seen London Tours playing at Walk the Plank. Yeah, Mike from Virtual Reality Oasis, I seen him do a video where they looked like they were at some kind of a park and they were asking people to try it on the Oculus Quest. That was a pretty cool video. And the way that girl was screaming, nearly lost her balance, was funny. I don't know. Like, I think that Richie's plank experience, if I tried it, that's probably a game that I would probably have to lean up against the wall. So if I feel myself losing my balance, I can catch myself on the wall. But one of the biggest reasons why I never bought that game is because they said that the game is best, played with a plank. And I figured that if you don't have a plank, it's probably not going to be it's not going to feel very immersive. So I never tried it, but maybe I will. But again, my apartment is so small. Like, if I fall forward, I got my computer right in front of me, and then behind my computer, my 65-inch TV is sitting on a glass TV stand. You said, me too, Spark God. I hope he replies. And then Robert McLeod, you said, how I see Phil Spencer. He's like a guy at a bar trying to tell a woman what she wants to hear just to get what he wants to get. Yeah. No, well, no, no. I think Phil Spencer is telling the Xbox what he wants to tell them, but he brainwashes them into believing that he's telling them what they want to hear. This is the "we heard you" council. We listened, all this shit. No. They got their mind made up what they're going to do, but they try to act like, we heard you. You said you wanted a service. You said you wanted a games as a service. You wanted a Game Pass like service. We heard you. No. They had their mind made up. They was putting that shit out there. But the X-Dots, like I said, it's they're mindless. They can easily be manipulated. And the thing about it is, I don't think it's a case of them being extremely dumb. I think it's a case of them wanting to beat Sony so bad that they will accept anything that's being told. When Phil Spencer tried to put that shit over on the Xbox about how single player games are dying and they're losing their popularity and shit like that, he had them brainwashed for a second. So because of that, for a minute, the X-Dots were raving over Sea of Thieves and State of Decay because Phil Spencer told them that multiplayer games is where it's at. Excuse me. And in translation, and then because he tried to say the single player games are losing their popularity, he tried to insinuate that the games that's over on the PlayStation are going to die because nobody wants that stuff. Translation, that was his way of telling the X-Dots that our games are better than the games over there, and they swallowed it up. What's up, Mega Dave? So yeah, no question about it. Phil Spencer is the biggest. I can't even say that he's the biggest con man that I ever seen. The biggest reason why I think Phil Spencer was able to get over the way he did is because he made the X-Dots think that he was still committed to beating Sony. Now, I've said this before in a lot of podcasts before, that X-Dots they weren't concerned with what kind of content that Microsoft was coming out with. They were concerned with beating Sony. If Gears of War would have been the only game on the entire Xbox platform, but if it would have been enough to sell 100 million Xboxes and outsell the PlayStation, even though Sony's got 600 games, the Xbox would have rolled with that. They would have been happy with that. They don't, like I said, that all they cared about was beating Sony. They didn't give a fuck about what kind of content Microsoft was coming out with. So it kind of went hand in hand as far as I'm concerned. You had Microsoft putting out garbage games, and even when they was putting out a halfway decent game, the Xbox weren't buying them. So you said, so it turns out Game Pass really is too good a value for Xbox. Not for me. It might be a good value for them because they don't buy shit. It's not a good value for me because of the content that's there. I'm not paying $15 a month to play shit like Disney Zoo Tycoon. But before I close this up, one thing I will say about one thing that's really getting on my nerves. I'm starting to get a little bit. This PS5 shit is starting to get on my nerves, where every single day a little bit of tidbit of news seems to drop out. Seems to drip out. I'm starting to get sick of these rumors about new PS5 specs leaked. This kind of shit. PS5's using this kind of processors, using, our ray tracing. I'm starting to get sick of hearing all this shit. And then the thing about it is, every time some kind of rumor comes out about the PS5, about it's going to have this, it's going to have that, is usually followed up with people making content saying that the Scarlett is going to have the same shit as the PS5. Peter Sherrod, what's up? Said Ed Boon said himself that nobody has any dev kits. I think that's a lie right there. I mean, I don't know about third-party developers, but I definitely believe first-party developers have at least PS5 dev kits. I mean, they're going to need time to convert, whatever they build, they're going to need time to convert it over to the PS5. Yeah, right there. JP Local agreed. These PS5 and Xbox leaks are starting to get on my nerves. I mean, in the beginning, when the rumors were coming out about what kind of power that the PS5 might have, the only reason it interested me was because of VR. Because again, when the next generation of VR comes out, the PS5 is not going to be a limitation the way the PS4 is right now. I don't think developers are going to be limited. I think whatever they want to develop is going to be possible. It's just a matter of whether they, think there's going to be a market for it or not. Spartan God, you said that Boom is lying. Ubisoft, EA, Square Enix, and Capcom all have dead kits. Yeah, I mean, myself, I think by now every major like AAA publisher probably have dev kits for both Scarlett and PS5. Maybe they under NDAs, whatever. You said, well, we get a PS5 Pro eventually. Here's my problem Here's my problem with a PS5 Pro, DJ. If a PS5 Pro comes out, it makes me question the PS5. When the PS5 comes out, that Sony put every bit of technology into that console at the time, or did they hold the shit back just so they could sell the PS5 Pro? Saris is great. You nailed it, Lincoln. Every time something new leaks on PS5, shortly after something leaks about Scarlett to counter PS5. Yeah, the shit's getting on my nerves. I'm not hearing I'm not seeing any kind of YouTube video saying that Scarlett's going to have this, Scarlett's going to have that, it's going to have this many teraflops. So I'm not. All this shit is, all those specific specs are coming from the rumors of the PS5, and then shortly after that, everybody says that Scarlett's going to have the same shit. PS5 Slim. Oh, yeah. At some point, yes. I mean, I think Sony definitely made a PS3 Slim because I had one. They made a PS4 Slim. DJ, you said the price of computer components could factor into the Pro, I guess. Might be cheaper down the line to make one. But yeah, I would agree with that. But for instance, DJ, I'm wondering that, like, for instance, like, just to say, let's say, Sony goes into the closet and they've got two graphics cards and two processors. It's like, okay, we're going to put this one in the PS5. That one right there, we'll wait a couple of years and then introduce this one into the PS5 Pro. That would kind of piss me off because it's suckering me in. I'm going to buy the PS5, and then naturally when the PS5 Pro comes out, I'm going to want the one that's got more power. So I'm going to turn around and buy the PS5, PS5 Pro. Or I hope we don't have a situation where the PS5 comes out And a lot of these games are compromised because it supposedly doesn't have enough power, and then you have to buy the PS5 Pro in order to get the, you know, the performance that you thought you were going to get in the first place from the PS5, you know, VR wise. I hope they do not pull any shit like that. Jake Swoles, you said I don't even touch a video that has supposed leaks in the title. Yeah, I was like, I hate to put his name out there directly, but like Mads, I got a lot of respect for him, and I do like his content. But like every day, you know, it's like every video he puts out has got, like, you know, specs. Danny Ruiz, what's up? I'm more hype about the games that are about to come out more than I am about the PS5. You know, again, you know, I've said this before, Danny Ruiz. This time, maybe, you know, this time last year, maybe about a year and a half ago, I was hyped about the PS5 because I knew that they were going to continue to deliver, you know, compelling AAA exclusives, you know, blockbuster AAA exclusives. I knew that. I was looking forward to that. But now, because you know, I done totally flipped and I'm like totally VR now, the VR aspect is pretty much the only reason why I'm looking forward to the PS5. Don't get me wrong, they're still gonna have some flat screen exclusives that's gonna intrigue me that I'm still gonna play. But like 80% of the reason why I'm looking forward to the PS5 is for the VR aspect of it. And that's another reason why all these damn videos about these damn specs is getting on my nerves, is just going in one ear and out the other. You said Mads is a fraud and an Xbox fanboy. Well, he did admit that Xbox is his console of choice. And Spartan Guy, you said, what I don't like is the fact that most people say PS5 is stronger and bots feel offended. Like, why? To me, it will. I've said this before too. I said this before too. It doesn't matter which one of these consoles is going to be more powerful. It's going to be about the content. We know PS5 is going to have the better games. If Bleeding Edge is going to be the basis of the Microsoft, of the Xbox brand, it makes no sense to buy Scarlet. You want Bleeding Edge or you want Death Stranding? Which one of these consoles is more powerful is not going to make one fucking bit of difference. It's going to be about the content. It's going to be about the games. And that takes me back to what I said before. Last year, based on customer loyalty, the score is already PlayStation 80 million, Xbox 40 million, based on customer loyalty. And that loyalty comes from the content. You know, nobody gave a fuck about what features either of these consoles had. This whole goddamn war, this whole goddamn war, this generation has been mostly about the content. Sure, at the beginning, everybody was hollering about the base PS4 having more power than the Xbox One, but that shit only lasted a couple of months. But once the games started pumping out from Sony, nobody said shit about the power no more. But the Xbox was still hanging on that. By the time the Xbox One X came out, everybody on the PlayStation side had moved way behind the power. They had moved way past the power narrative. But the Xbox was the ones that was trying to bring that fight back to life. Oh, you guys, now that we got the most powerful console, you guys act like power doesn't matter. Man, nobody was talking. People stopped talking about power a couple of years before the Xbox One X even came out. Oh, I've been on here damn near 2 hours. DJ said, got to admit, I've always had the Xbox. Always had an Xbox. The only time I turn mine on now is to watch Netflix. Same here, DJ. Only time I turn on my Xbox One S is in my bedroom. The only time I turn that shit on is to use YouTube. It's a YouTube box for me. I don't play games on it. It even before I made the full flip to VR, I still was not playing my Xbox One S because all the better titles was on the PlayStation. Yeah, he said, but Marcus Chief said the council ordered because Microsoft revealed the Xbox One X. You know what? That really cracked me up. How the Xbox, when the Xbox One X was revealed, how the Xbox was talking about how Sony people scared Sony. You know how the ponies is scared now, and it was acting like they gonna win the console war because of the Xbox One X. By the time the Xbox One X came out, the score was already like 70 million to whatever, because by then Microsoft wasn't giving out numbers anymore. Everybody was just speculating what was out there. So it was already a blowout by the time the Xbox One X came out. Now, how the fuck did they think, that the Xbox One X was going to turn that shit around? We running a 20-lap race. I got 2 laps to go before I win the race. And the person that's in second place behind me is 4 laps behind me. How in the fuck do you think he going to be able to pull off that kind of miracle and win that race? I mean, that's the idiocy that the Xbox was talking about. That's just how dumb they sounded. He said Sony won every NPD, November NPD since 2014. Yeah. And I think usually around that time, Sony, around November of every year, Sony has some kind of blockbuster hit coming out. Cyber Dragon, you said Sony, good analogy. Thank you, sir. Loco, you said the console war ended in 2013 when Sony shot down Microsoft's neck with that PS4 reveal. Yeah, that shit was over before it started. Hey, that's right there, Spartan. You said, can we let Leak and leave already? No, that's on me, Spartan guy, because I enjoy talking to you guys. I mean, I'm so glad you guys are giving me content to talk about, because when I first started this podcast, I really thought it was only going to be about a half an hour, because I didn't think I was going to have shit to talk about, because there really wasn't any news out there. And there isn't any news out there. So you guys are keeping this shit going, by giving me stuff to talk about. So it's actually pretty cool. I mean, I'm going to take off out of here in about 10, 15 minutes, win, lose, or draw. But make no mistake about it, I'm enjoying every minute of talking to you guys. You said, hell, not a single Xbox game this year has surpassed 6 million. That is an interesting stat right there, JP Loco. Serious is great. You said Xbox act like the Southern Confederacy. They just can't bring themselves to admit they lost the Civil War. Lots of them still thinking they're fighting it. Yeah.
Anyone can go through it.
Jay Swolls, you said power, but show me something that looks better than God of War and Horizon Zero Dawn.
Okay, you were really suspicious.
I think King Thrash was the first person I heard that used talent and Sony developers in the same breath. Because when it was coming out, when the Xbox One X first came out, and we could see that anything that they threw out there did not look better than anything over on the Sony side, it was thrashed. It was like, hey, they don't have the talent that Sony has.
Yes, you did. Yes, you did.
DJ, you said you have another topic. Do you think Dreams VR will be a massive hit or not? That's a tough one DJ, because I think there's going to be more people waiting for content rather than them going out and making the content, with me being one of them. I kind of don't really have any intentions of getting Dreams until I kind of get a grasp of what kind of content, VR content that people are making out there. But I think I just don't know. You know, one of the viewers on this channel that I'm friends with, Amira17, you know, he wants to be a developer. He wants to be a VR developer. So I'm trying to put that bug in his ear for him to get the Dreams game and create some content. You know, just like, did I pick up any new VR games off the Steam sale? I think the only thing I really picked up off the Steam sale, Fatal Charade, I did pick up Payday 2 for $2.50 because that game is playable in VR. You know, an entire AAA game playable in VR for $2.50. How could you pass that up? Sarah's is great. Who said Dreams is getting VR support? Unless they canceled it, that was you know, that was made known right from the start. Sarah's is great that Dreams would have VR support. That was the only reason why I was interested in it. Now, from what I understand, when the game launches, like during this early access phase that it was in, it is not supporting VR. I don't know if the VR support is going to be there when the game first launches, once it comes out of early access, whatever the case may be. But at some point, it's supposed to get it. So, yeah, DJ, that would be an excellent place to start developing games. Yeah, Media Molecules always said it's getting a VR patch, and to my knowledge, it's still supposed to be there. I haven't heard anything about it being canceled. But my big thing is that I'm just wondering when people start creating VR content on Dreams. When I see something, I'm wondering just how far they'll be able to take it because of the limitations of the hardware. You said you watched one of the streams last week and they said the VR was working good. All right. Now, going back to your comment, JP Loco. See, I missed some of the comments back then. You said that I'm paraphrasing you, but I believe that you were saying that I'm under the impression when you said no game sold over 6 million on the Xbox, I assumed that you meant exclusives. Because I'm sure they got some, I'm sure they probably got some third-party games that sold over 1 million, but I'm talking about exclusives. So if you told me that Halo, Forza, or Gears, none of those games sold over 10 million, I would believe you. And I'm not counting that. I'm not counting that Game Pass shit because that is a membership to a library of games, not a purchase of one specific game. So whatever numbers they throw at whatever Game Pass numbers they try to throw at me, I'll throw that shit out. He said, I want to make a GoldenEye game in the Playboy Mansion experience. Hey, DJ, they got that shit. They got that kind of shit over on Steam. I actually saw Mr. 4K Upscaler. He streamed it because he has PC VR as well. But he streamed a game called VR Paradise where he was in a strip club. And you got the girls that's dancing on a pole, and they do go topless, and then you can get a private dance. But that's where they rope you in because they try to get you. They try to get you to spend real money on those private dances. Because I actually went and tried it once. In those private dances, the girl danced for you and take her top off, dance a little bit, act like she's gonna come close to you. She puts her hands on your knees and act like she's getting ready to go down and give you head, and then after that, the screen just fades out because that's where they're trying to get you to pay for the shit. But actually, DJ, there's actually a ton of adult games out there. I even seen the trailer to a game on Steam, a VR game where they show actual penetration, where they actually show the dick going inside a pussy. Where it was actual penetration. It was like 3D porn. This was a VR game. I actually seen a trailer for that on Steam. So the shit is there. Oh yeah, Spartan God. Yeah, that shit is there in VR. I think this is a game, not an experience. This is a game. Yeah, right there, Patient Fire. There's a lot of VR porn games on Steam. There's a ton of it actually. So I'm guessing you don't have PC VR, so you're oblivious to that shit because you only on PlayStation VR. Well, yeah, there is a shit ton of VR games over on Steam. A shit ton of VR adult games, porn games, whatever you want to call it. So yeah, that shit is hilarious. On Patient Fire, you said I played one called Honey Select. You can make your own girl and dress her up in honey in Honey Select. And Fatal Charade, you said I've seen it. I get into my recommendations all the time. That VR Paradise that I mentioned, that game actually cost money. At the time that I downloaded it and tried it, the game was free. For a limited time, like those Steam sales, some of those games that might only cost $5 or $10, they might actually offer them for free. But I think those are usually games that might have microtransactions in them. Yeah, DJ, that's crazy. That porn shit is there. VR porn is there. Seems like everyone is in the loop about this apart from me. Well, like in all fairness, DJ, I didn't know that shit was there until I bought my Oculus Rift. I had no idea that shit was there. The only thing as far as porn goes that I did know that you had to go through a couple of things to do it. But you could I think you could use Next VR or something like that on your PlayStation VR, and you can go to websites and see, porn, actual porn in VR. I had no idea about that shit, but of all people, PSVR Frank was the one that mentioned that shit. So that's all people, PSVR Frank. He said, I remember the video when he said, I'm not going to tell you the sites where to go. He said, all I'm going to tell you is that you can use Next VR and do a little bit of a workaround. Once you get that all set up, then you can go to specific websites and see porn in VR using your PlayStation VR headset. So it took porn to go ahead and sell Jay Swoles on VR. So mission accomplished. Same thing there. I ain't gonna lie. I took a peek at the shit before. I think what I had to do was use that Next VR, like PSVR Frank said, and I downloaded maybe a 5-minute clip onto a flash drive. I plugged it into my PlayStation 4, and I think I transferred the file over to the Next VR or whatever that shit was, and then I was able to watch that porn clip in 3D or in VR. And what it was is you could tell by the way it looked, there was a camera. There must have been like a 3D camera from the ceiling. So it was a top view. And it was a scene where it was like 3 couples was fucking and shit like that. And it was just a top view. And you just basically you look around and see the entire room. He said, mission failed. We get him next time. Hey, JP Local, we probably got him. He said, I'm sold on the porn in VR. I didn't think we got him. Not only that, Jay Swoles, you can watch NBA games live in VR. Also on the Next VR on that app, you can go into that app, and I think you can have you tried playing Sariento? We talked about that earlier, Fatal Charade, I think before you got in here. It's a game that I'm highly interested in, but 2 things really bothered me about that game was when I read the reviews, they said the game was buggy, and I didn't care for that $30 price tag. I seen the game get as low as $15. I think last week from like the Steam summer sale, and I think Oculus matched it with their own summer sale. I should have bought it then, but I just didn't. I didn't move on it, but I should have. The next time it comes up on sale, or if I can catch it on G2A, then I'll pick it up. Impatient Fire, you said you like watching NBA in VR. So yeah, getting back to that, Jay Swoles, you can watch NBA games live in VR, and you don't have to pay for an entire season pass. I think you can even buy the games individually. I think you can like maybe pay like $3 for a game, or get a 3-game package for like $15 or some shit like that. And I've watched, and you can even use the Next VR app and go in there and get a sample of it, because they've got clips of NBA games, they've got clips of NHL hockey games, they've got clips of NFL games, all in VR. They've even got clips of the WWE, all in VR. DJ, you said I gotta bounce. Chat, you all amazing. Keep up the good work, Lincoln. Hey, DJ, I really appreciate it. And when I hook up with Gamertag VR on Project Cars 2, oh yeah, I forgot you're not on you said you're not on PC. I was gonna say I hope you be there, but I forgot you're not on PC. Oh, we'll hook up on maybe Firewall or something, because there's a lot of games out there. JP Local didn't catch the Metal Gear reference, Clay, for shame.
Let me check. Oh, it failed. Mission failed. We'll get it next time.
All right, you said you'll definitely check out that stream when I get down with Gamertag. All right, cool.
Okay, so Walker when you kill them.
Oh damn, who would have thought on you said I just picked up Project Cars 2 and the game is awesome. Have you tried the VR portion of it yet? Fatal Charade? I mean, because like, for the VR aspect of it, yeah, Project Cars is awesome in VR. Now, again, now that I got my racing wheel working, Impatient Fire, I will definitely be doing more streams of that, because even if I'm racing against a computer, at least I'm racing against a full grid of cars. Because that was my biggest problem with GT Sport in VR, is that it's one-on-one against the computer. I can even deal with the one-on-one against the computer, but they got the car set on stupid. The AI is set on stupid. You're doing 100 miles an hour and the AI is doing 60. Robert McLeod, give me a good Battlefield game in VR and I'm good. Again, Robert McLeod, I think that kind of stuff is going to happen next generation. Because again, if Microsoft gets on board with VR, the market, in my opinion, will finally be big enough for EA to take a chance on something like that, to put a VR mode into Battlefield. They already going to make the game anyway. So I hope that it won't, cost them too much more money to add a VR mode to a game like Battlefield, because I would love to play Battlefield in VR. As much as I do not like EA, I do like the Battlefield games, and I would love nothing better than to have something like that in VR. But I would think it would take something like Microsoft getting on board with VR for something like that to happen. Because for one thing, now here's the thing, because for PC, I don't think the market's big enough, because their games are not available on Steam or the Epic Store as far as PC goes. You got to go to the Origin and all that bullshit. And how many people with VR headsets are going to go out of their way to go over to Origin? There's 4.2 million headsets last reported for the PlayStation. But if you get, next generation, you're still going to have those same 4.2, 4.5, 5 million, however many VR headsets out there by the time the PlayStation 5 comes along. But now you open up another door. If Microsoft gets involved, that could be big enough to tip the scales. I would like to think that, like, take this generation, for instance. If Microsoft would have followed through with the high fidelity VR that they promised, and there's 40 million Xboxes out there right now, I bet you at least 1 million of them right now would have got on board with that VR if they would have done it. So next generation, if Microsoft does it this time, we'll just say that by the time the PS5 comes out, there's going to be 5 million PlayStation VR headsets out there. So you're going to have that 5 million out there, and then the potential of what could possibly happen with Xbox Scarlet. So you got two avenues, two huge platforms for EA to have the possibility to make more money off of VR. So it could happen. Right now, if EA gets involved in VR, the PlayStation VR is their only platform. Xbox is not involved in it. And with PC, if they would allow their games to be on Steam, then the market for Steam would be big enough for them to take a chance on it. But because none of their games is on Steam or the Epic Store or anything like that, anybody want to fuck with EA shit has to go directly to their site. Said Saris is great. I believe a lot of games that can't be done or support VR on PS4, PS4 Pro will later be patched to work on the VR2 for PS5. I definitely believe that. Or just like built from the ground up for VR, like the rumor that went around a couple of months ago that a studio could be possibly working on Horizon Zero Dawn in VR for the PS5. Robert McLeod, you said I see Xbox VR is never happening just from what Microsoft said. Now think about it though, Robert McLeod. Now, okay, I'll go back to what I said last generation, how I believe that Microsoft did not follow through with their promise of high fidelity VR because of the slow start that PlayStation VR got off to. After 10 months on the market, the PlayStation VR only sold 750,000 units after being on the market for 10 months. Fuck, the Oculus Quest has been sold out a month now, and rumor has it that they already sold 1 million. And the shit only been out 2 months now. At first wave, rumor has it they sold 1 million. I bet you if the Oculus Quest, if they could get these things, keep these things on store shelves, I bet you they would have been at 1.5 million by now. There's a lot of people out there that want an Oculus Quest, but they're not available on store shelves. You have to order them. I mean, that's what took me so long to finally do this shit. I was waiting for one to be on the shelf of Best Buy so I could walk in there and get it. It wasn't there. They sold out. So I finally had to break down and order one from Amazon a couple of days ago. So where I'm going with this is that because of the slow start that the PSVR had, I think that's why Microsoft didn't follow through with it. But now here it is. Whatever. A few months ago, about 5-6 months ago, it was revealed that Sony had made over $2 billion off of VR alone. You think Microsoft's eyes didn't light up? Oh, cha-ching, and see them dollar signs in their eyes? Now we can get on board with VR. Now that we see that there's a market for it. Microsoft isn't developing any kind of headset of VR. The rumors going around that they're going to partner up with Oculus again. So they don't need to build the VR. All they need to do is make it compatible. Microsoft is not going to develop any VR games. They barely develop games as it is. So we know goddamn well they're not going to develop any VR games. All they're going to do is let Oculus bring their store onto the Xbox dashboard. Done. That's it. Microsoft don't have to do shit except open the door and let Oculus in. I've said that before. That's, to me, if they don't let Oculus come to the Xbox platform, if they don't let Oculus come to the Xbox Scarlet, they are throwing away free money. Because this is something they don't have to put no work into. They don't have to develop any games. They don't have to develop a headset. All they got to do is open the door and let Oculus in and announce that we formed a partnership with Oculus. Because if it happens, they're going to make the Oculus Rift 2 compatible with the Xbox Scarlet. So, to me, there's no reason for them not to do it. Unless you want to let Sony snatch up another $2 billion and you don't want a piece of that money. So, I'm just about out of voice. I'm starting to get a little bit scratchy. I'm starting to get a little bit hungry. So I'm going to throw some chicken in this air fryer and decide what I'm going to play. So with that being said, look for something from me today as far as Game Stream goes. And that's going to do it for me. I'm going to go ahead and shut it down. This has been an amazing podcast talking with all of you. I really appreciate it. And tentatively, I plan on being on the PlayStation Legion tomorrow with J-Tech. So you guys make sure you check that out tomorrow. With that being said, I'm just going to go ahead and boogie on out of here. And y'all have a good one. Make sure you guys get some gaming in. Yeah, before I go, JP Loco, you would absolutely love Pavlov, especially with the mods and stuff like that. My son's playing it right now as we speak. It's definitely because of the mods. So, but all right, folks, I'm out of here because if I don't stop right now, I'm gonna end up being here another half hour, 45 minutes, whatever the case may be. So I'm gonna go ahead and boogie on out of here. I'll holler at y'all later. Y'all have a good one, and I'm out.